Hi, it's me and welcome back to Megan's Red Library. Today I will be doing a top 5 Wednesday topic discussion. And today's topic, or yesterday's topic because I didn't get to film it yesterday, is urban fantasy. And since this is my favorite subgenre of fantasy, I am super excited to talk about this. Hopefully I don't get too ranty, so without further ado, here we go. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Hidden Legacy series by Alona Andrews, and it is about this modern world in Houston, Texas that we're focusing on, where magic has manifested around the 1850s, and it is now commonplace and accepted in society. So, the people who originally had magic manifest in the 1850s started to become super powerful and form houses. These houses kind of control the magic part of the world, and they actually have a high influence on the regular, like, mundane human kind of world. And in this series, we follow Nevada Baylor and her family, who are trying to stay under the radar. They don't want to have their magic abilities really out there in the world. They don't want to be a house. They just want to live their life, do their job, and run their business, which is a private investigator business. And since Nevada basically becomes the head of the family in this series. So in the first book, she is hired to bring a powerful prime magic user in to custody. Now, the magic levels are, I think there's 5 magic levels. I can't remember all of them exactly, but the number 1 is prime, 2 is significant, 3 is notable, and then I think there's like 2 more that are further down. And if you have more than 2 registered primes in your family, you can create a house, which kind of allows you to join the society and whatnot. But this is a cutthroat society. They have wars and they kill each other, and they're independent from the law because of their magic. So they can have a full-on war on streets, killing civilians, and not get in trouble by civilian authority, because all they have to do is file a piece of paperwork. This is a house war. It will be handled. I mean, do you need to know more? It's kind of intense and crazy. I mean, it's really good. Also, it is primarily a love-based story, so if you don't like smutty sex scenes, don't pick it up. But if you like a little sex in your book, or a lot of sex, I should say, pick this up. The magic is great. The relationship between Nevada and Rogan is great, and I highly recommend this. So for my number 2 pick is the Jane Yellowrock series by Faith Hunter, and it is about Jane, who is a coyote shifter, skinwalker is what they call her, what she calls herself, I guess. And her magic abilities lie in being able to shapeshift into any animal of similar mass to her. All she has to have is the bones of that dead animal, and she can basically sequence the DNA of it and transform. And her world is magic users, so witches are out in a real and semi-accepted in society. Vampires are real and, again, kind of semi-accepted in society. And majority of this book takes place in New Orleans, Louisiana, and then the surrounding area. She is a vampire bounty hunter, so she hunts down rogue vampires, and she's usually hired by town city officials to take care of business. But at the start of this book, you find out that she is hired by other vampires to kill their own, because for an unknown reason, they don't want to tackle the issue. This world is less about the magic and the creatures, and although that is important, it does play a role. It has more of a character focus, in my opinion, and I think it's really well done, because Jane, her character is really fleshed out and kind of a tortured character, but then she also has another soul in her, and that's her primary shift form, which is known as Beast. And Beast is its own separate entity, and Beast is a badass. Beast don't give two fucks about people's human problems. And it is just done so well that when I read it, I feel like I'm in the head of whoever's in charge, if it's Jane or Beast. Like, I feel their emotions. This author has that way of doing it, and I love it. The magic is super interesting. It's 10 books long, or 11 books long. I've read the first 5, so eventually I'm gonna finish it. But it's so good. Pick it up. Also, awesome representation for Native American people. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually, I'm going to talk about this one, is the Others series by Anne Bishop. I talked about this in my previous video, my tag video, a little bit, so I go into more detail there, and it's basically a complete flip on most urban fantasies, where the others, the vampires, the creature, elemental creatures, primordial creatures, they are in charge of the world, and humans are subservient to them. So if you want a little bit more detail, I'll link my tag video below where I expand upon it. It is so good. Meg is the main character, and she's a blood prophet. So if you cut her skin, she sees a vision, and she has to learn how to interpret it and live her life away from the controlling entity that had her captive for a while. So that's where this book starts off. It's 5 books long. It's worth the read. This arc is complete in itself, and there's going to be a spin-off series coming out this month on the 6th, I think. So I'm excited to start that next one. So for my 4th pick, it's the second Ilona Andrews series that I was mentioning. This is 10 books long, roughly. There's a couple of spin-off. The main story arc is 10 books, and there's a couple of spin-off, like, side character stories that are really good that I recommend that you read. So the world of this is post-Shift Atlanta. And the Shift was a magical apocalyptic event where now there's this uneven balance of technology to magic. So when the magic is up, technology doesn't work. Any form of technology doesn't work. When the magic's down, no magic works. But you discover in the world that there's some leeway to some of those rules. There's some interesting things that the characters kind of create to kind of like bend the rules, and it's done really well in my opinion, so it doesn't bother me. One of the things I will warn with this first book is that the writing is kind of rough, and then the editor didn't do a really good job making some of the events in the last half of the book flow together very well. There's a whole section that they actually talk about on their page where the editor cut something, and it wasn't restructured well. So I was flipping back and forth like, what the hell just happened? I don't understand. But read the first book, kind of like understand that there's some problems with it, and if you like the characters enough, which I think that you will, continue the series. It is so good. She is Kate of the Kate Daniels series is a mercenary who has some magic abilities, and she is really resistant to creating friendships and relationships with people because of how she was raised and the lifestyle that she was forced to live. And when things slowly become unraveled in her history, you understand why. And it's just really well done. Give it a shot. So for the final book, and hopefully I can wrap this up to where it's not super long, is the Mercy Thompson series. by Patricia Briggs. This is the first urban fantasy series I think I ever read. And I mean explicitly urban fantasy, not like paranormal modern stuff. It is so classic to me. It feels so very classic. So it's got werewolves, vampires, and the fae. And they stick to kind of like the traditional storylines of what like you would expect. And the fae came out first in this world in like the 80s. And so what do Americans do? We restrict them to reservations because we don't like anything that's new and different and that we don't understand. Of course, you're not going to you can't really control fae magical creatures as a normal human being. But of course, we like to pretend like we're safe and happy, right? So in this world, vampires and werewolves have not come out yet, but slowly things are emerging in the world, is becoming more complex. And we follow Mercy Thompson, who is none of the above. She is actually a coyote shapeshifter. She is half Native American, half white, and she is a car mechanic, and she lives right next to a werewolf pack. And she was raised by a werewolf pack, so she understands werewolf thought process and pack hierarchy and so on and so forth. So she's super snarky, and she doesn't let people get away with like trying to control her. She does her own damn thing. And she's always getting in it because she's a coyote shapeshifter. It's almost like the coyote of legends, and she's always getting into mischief and mayhem whether she wants to or not. And I love Mercy. I think she's great. I think she's a great character to read. And I will warn you, for book 3, there is a pretty graphic rape scene, and if that's something that you don't want to read, maybe read the first 2 books and then kind of do like a spoilery synopsis on the 3rd book and then continue the series. Because reading it was tough for me, but it was really well done. So just kind of beware, and if that's triggering for you, just know. But other than that, this series is I think this is like the 11th book is coming out this month, but there's also like kind of a spin-off series where they have about 5 books out, and the storylines kind of combine and merge. So if you wanted to read them in chronological order, you could go on her website and like find out the order and read them in that order, which is the way I recommend to read it. But this world is really amazing. It's really great. Wonderful characters, and I highly recommend it. So those are all the urban fantasy books that I recommend. Hopefully you've watched the entirety of this video. If you have read any of these or want to know more information about any of them, comment down below. And if you just liked the information in this video, like the video. And I will see you soon. Bye!